Welcome back to Rise and Shine, the Ability Connection Colorado podcast. My name is Jared, and I love this show. I love this podcast because not because of me or this splendid 99-cent DJI Friday decor thing I've got in the background, but because of the stories. And when we talk to families of parent to parent, we find out the stories of their children and what they're going through, but we also get to be a part of the growth of the parents, the courage that they've amassed, the innovations that they themselves have come up with, and the connections that they get through the incredible organization. And we're going to do that today with Casey Kanodes talking about his son, Forrest, and an acronym, CHARGE, a rare genetic disorder. So, how have he and his wife and their son, how have they gotten by? And how do they interact with parent to parent? And how could you? Well, even if you're not someone who feels they need parent to parent, they need you, and you can help them right here, coloradogives.org. I'm not going to go into all the details. I'll just tell you this: no one is better than parent to parent in motivating their families to motivate other families to maintain that group, which provides so much in informational and emotional support to families who need it. And now, not only taking a brief break from his work to talk to us, but I know you were just in the hospital, Casey. Welcome, Casey Canode, and you were there with your son. What was being done at the hospital?
Tuesday, we did something called the drool procedure. So they removed his submandibular salivary glands
Wow, they
and
removed it.
removed them. Yeah,
Wow, wow.
they removed them, and then they um, did some work on the some glands inside his mouth as well, and that helps. So his swallow function is okay, but he's got a cleft lip and palate, and he still has a bit of a remnant of a cleft palate that connects his mouth to his nose. So we have, since he was born, pretty much always wore like a triangular kind of bib or like bandana. As he got older, and a bib wasn't as age appropriate, and then us and the nurses constantly kind of have to every so often wipe spit from his mouth. So this will almost
Wow.
eliminate that need altogether, so he can have a much higher day-to-day quality of life without the
Yeah.
especially at school. He's in third grade. He's noticing, even with developmental delay, he's starting to realize, like, hey, other kids don't have a
Right.
bandana and getting wiped all the time. So something we've been thinking about doing, and we've been using other medicine and patches and different things to kind of help with the spitting, but this is the definitely the kind of nuclear option, if you will. And it, from what we've read from other parents that share his syndrome, they all say that it was life changing and really really helped. So we're hoping.
How old is he?
He'll be 9 next month.
And what is the diagnosis?
So he has a rare syndrome called Charge syndrome. Um, it's an acronym. So C is coloboma. That's colobomas of the eyes. It's basically like a cleft of your iris or retina. He
Mhm,
does not have that. He does, but they're very very tiny. At
mhm.
their worst, they can cause blindness. So he doesn't have that aspect of it. H stands for heart defects. He definitely had heart defects in utero. They were recognized, so he was actually born at Children's here in Colorado, and had open heart surgery at 7 days old and another one at 2 months old, to repair those defects. Um, A stands for atresia. It could be choanal atresia or esophageal atresia. Both, neither of those. He didn't have either of those things. R is retardation of growth and development. He does have that. And G is genitals. Um, Sort of has some issues with that, and more in the terms of hormonal
Yeah.
aspects of that. And then E is ears. So his ears are a little misshapen. We think they're really cute. Uh, and the left ear, he's profoundly deaf, and the right ear, he is moderately deaf, but hears at regular level with a hearing aid. So CHARGE, all those things kind of combined. So every kid and adult that has charge, it's such a wide ranging wide spectrum syndrome, because each one of those things you can have not at all. Like Forrest doesn't have colobomas, or
Yeah.
you could be blind and deaf at the same time. Like it, there's a myriad of levels of what you may see kids presenting with Charge syndrome. So yeah.
Have you gotten some rest?
Yes, we did. Tuesday night, when he came out of anesthesia, it was a little rough. He's always done great with it. We don't know if it was a different med. We don't know if at age 9, hospital kind of environmental trauma is starting to build up. We're not sure what the cause was, but when he came out of anesthesia and we were getting wheeled up to the 6th floor there to kind of spend the night for observation, um, he a complete kind of meltdown of sorts, and just really rough hour or so. He finally settled down. He ended up sleeping basically on my wife's lap in the bed all night. I slept on the couch of sorts there in the room. But last night we do have here at home, we have night nursing 4 out of the 7 nights. And so that's super helpful. Especially last night, we were both drained. So night nurse got there at 8. He loves reading with her, so she read with him, and we kind of were able to, take a breath and get a good night's sleep. And I work Monday, Friday, 9 to 5, and my wife, substitute teaches a lot at his school, both mainly in the ILS classroom with other special needs kids, because she's gotten to know them all quite a bit. And then she is hit one of his parent. She's a parent CNA, so she also is one of his primary caregivers as well.
Well, it can provide you some comfort, Casey, that no matter what you do, you'll never be as appreciated as your wife. So you don't
Yeah,
go out of your way. Yeah.
I know, it's yeah, she's amazing. Yeah, both of us, we say all the time, like, uh, he had the meltdown the other day, and I think the dust kinda settled, and it was just the 2 of us in the room, and, I, just went over to her, and I said, I get a little emotional thinking about it, but I said, We go through a lot of hard things." I said, "But I don't think I'd want anybody else next to me doing those hard things other than her." I mean, we really complement each other really well. I think we both have a good kind of radar of when one of us is possibly, dipping and needs a little boost, and we kind of, even if we currently might need a boost, we know that the other one might need a bit more of a boost, and so
Yeah.
we do a great job of balancing. We spent the first, like I said, he was born in the hospital, had the open heart surgeries right away. We spent in total, between Children's Colorado and the hospital in Billings, Montana, which we initially were from Bozeman,
Okay.
Montana, when he was born. We're trying to get back to Montana. And so they transferred us to the hospital in Billings, and we were there so we were at Children's for 6 months. He ended up We almost lost him at
Mhm.
5 months. He had cardiac and respiratory arrest, and 7 minutes of CPR got him back. And soon after that, we opted for a trach and a vent. So he has a tracheostomy with a ventilator, and that allowed us to kind of get out of the hospital. Eventually, we got some home nursing in Montana, but as time went on, we were only in Billings for about a year before we realized that no matter what, nothing in Billings or Montana was going to match the care that we could get at Children's Colorado. So we moved to Northern Colorado in 2019 and have been there ever since. And in that year and a half of spending in the hospital right out of the gate, once he was born, we both developed a mantra of day by day. So one day at a time. Like, it was real hard. We got told he had Charge syndrome, and you start Googling and you look out. Oh,
Mm.
what's life going to be like at 10 and 15 and whatever? And it's like, nope. Right now we're on day 40. Like, what needs to happen today? Like, does he need to gain a little bit of weight? Does he need to come down a little bit on his vent settings? Like, what's that day's goal? And I mean, that really got us through that first year and a half, and ever since then, if one of us is, you can kind of tell the other one's getting stressed about something coming up in the future. It's nope, today. Like
Yeah.
today's today. So yeah, she's awesome. And but what that was another big reason why we moved here to Colorado was the parent CNA program,
Mhm.
that she was able to go pretty quickly after we moved here. Within a month or two, she got set up and got the training and got the license to be a CNA. And but like I said, we have some home nursing help. He has a nurse that goes to school with him, but she's a huge component of his care.
And making the most of this new opportunity to learn to care for someone in a different way.
Yeah, 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 for sure.
So you're with parent to parent,
Yeah.
and I'm guessing what you just told me about day to day, you've likely had an opportunity to tell other people.
Yeah, so I came across parent to parent. I had gotten involved with our son. Forrest goes to the special care clinic at Children's Colorado, so that's kind of a outpatient clinic where kids like him who are very complex and might have multiple doctors that are seeing him, they go to the special care clinic. He has a primary physician there, and he's seen by him. We do have a primary physician closer here to home that he can go to, but his doctor there kind of can pull in all of the information for all the kind of see the big picture of things, and that's a great place. We've been treated really well there, and so the doctor that he sees kind of mentioned to us he recognized kind of how involved we were with his care and just in general the caring for a special needs kid. And so he mentioned that they have a parent affinity council along with that, and so we joined that, and I go to all those meetings throughout the year, and it's a way for us to kind of provide feedback to children's the specialty care clinic about what is working, what might not be working, where how could they improve, and so forth. And Megan Garvin helps run that council, and I got to know her over the last year or two, and she kind of mentioned to me about parent to parent. One
Yeah.
time, say, hey, I think you'd be a really good support parent. Have you ever thought about? And I'd been on the list serve. I seen the group, but I'd never thought about signing up. So I had signed up to be a support parent, and yeah, I hope I've done some good. But it does feel good to you get a match and you get paired with someone, and you can tell that, oh, I know similar to where they're at right now, and
Yeah.
I can kind of meet them. You never ever want to say, oh, I know exactly how you feel, because you don't. Everybody's different, but it's a shared acknowledgement, and the level of trust that you have with somebody through parent to parent is immediately pretty high, because
Mhm.
hey, you're talking to somebody who's been there and done that, and kind of knows what's going on a little bit. And so yeah, I've been matched with some the Stephanie Chavez is the kind of coordinator, and she I
Yeah.
think tries to match me with a dad, and so that was always helpful too, to just kind of share that experience of being a special needs dad rather than a special needs mom. It's a little bit, the dynamic can always be a little bit different there, and so yeah, that's it's felt really good. I think what parent to parent does is you can't put a price on it. Like, I think
Yeah.
parents who are going through a new diagnosis, whether that be a health condition, a mental condition, whatever it may be, it's overwhelming. And you could have 15 doctors all tell you what you should be doing or how you should be doing something, but it, you know it, it's different coming from someone who has lived it and has been through it and can have that real world first person experience. So it's an amazing organization that I really think I wish more people knew about, because I do meet people that I'm like, oh, you would benefit so much from just talking to somebody in with parent to parent, and they don't know about them yet. So I think trying to spread the word and get the word out there is something I'm also trying to do as well.
Yeah, it's just a great tool of your Swiss Army knife of things to share with people.
100%.
So many people, in similar situations. I'm like, do you know a parent to parent? I kind of
Yeah.
I feel a little elevated too. Like, oh, I have something
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
I wonder with the dads. You've got 9 years experience, 9 plus
Yeah.
years. You've learned a lot, changed a lot. I'm
Yeah.
guessing.
Oh, yeah.
What do you see in the dads? These new dads, are they hard to get? Hard to break? I mean, are
Uh,
they
I honestly, I think, um, in general, the role of a dad, and I don't wanna wax poetic here, but I do feel like there's been a shift in the role of dads in their child's care in the last 10, 15, 20 years. Way I see dads now way more involved than dads. Not that I love my dad. My dad was a great dad, but I've heard from my mom. I don't think my dad ever changed,
right? Yeah,
a
my
diaper.
mom tucked me into bed, like, it wasn't
Yeah,
my
yeah.
dad doing that, yeah.
Yeah, it's and I think, I think that's a great thing. I think dads are realizing that, hey, I play a role. I play a role here just as well. I'm not just the, you know, do the go to the job, do the hard stuff, whatever, the manual labor. It's like you can be the dad that sits and reads with your kid and takes them to the park and different things like that. And so that's in general. I think now you extrapolate that to the special needs world, and it's just, from what my perspective, I'm seeing the same thing. The dads I come across are often really involved. That's not to say that some dads, maybe don't feel overwhelmed by it and just kind of do defer to the wife for a lot of things. I try to catch myself. I'm very guilty, especially because my wife is a parent CNA, where I say, "Oh, you're the CNA. That I'm going to let you do that." And so I have to be like, nope, that just she's not on the clock right now.
Yeah.
I can do this thing. And
Yeah,
so
people
it
don't
is.
even
It's
know your first name. You were just your wife's husband. It's,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
sometimes. Yep. Yeah,
yeah.
that can happen. Especially I was really excited when Megan asked me about, joining parent to parent and getting set up as being a support parent because so many, if you go to we're on a few charge Facebook groups, and there's even a special needs moms group, whatever, on Facebook. So a lot of those spaces are very, mom centered and mom dominated. And so to have Megan kind of like single me out and say, hey, like we could use some use some dad energy over here.
Yeah,
That felt really good.
that's good.
I'm hoping we just had two. I couldn't go to it because of the procedure that we had, but two other parent to parent support parents kind of set up a coffee meetup here in Northern Colorado, kind of to spread the word about parent to parent and just give some of these parents a chance to come and chat for a bit without their kiddos and just share advice and share stories. And they heard from a few of the people who were there that there's definitely some interest in a dad's group just here in the northern Colorado area. So I think I'm going to work with another dad, and we're going to try to set that up and make sure that we can make maybe a monthly, start off monthly or every other month, a meetup of just
That
dads, so that
awesome.
we can
Yeah.
kind of share our perspectives of where we're coming from and what life is like from the dad side.
Well, and seeing dads eh, on, for example, the website for coloradogives.org, and Parent to Parent does
Mhm.
that fundraiser every year, and
Yeah,
I love seeing the whole family out there. Last year, I saw some dads telling stories and really had an
yeah,
impact, because I
yeah,
said earlier, kind of jokingly, "But are they hard to break, like these men are wild stallions or something?"
yeah,
But
yeah.
in the world that I probably you and I both grew up in, there was, that's a long, steep, tall bridge
It can be, yeah,
to get a
uh,
guy from emotionally from one place to another.
yeah. Yeah, I grew up in the South, very much, kind of, nobody ever said it explicitly. My dad is an amazing dad, but I don't know, like crying and showing emotion. You were kind of just expected to kind of hold it down a little bit, like
Yep,
don't get too
tamp
don't get
that
too
down.
overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And I think as I came into my 20s and 30s, I just, I was like, why, this is part of the human experience. Sadness is just as much a valid emotion as happiness and joy, and it all deserves its space in the moment that it comes. And so, um, I yeah, I think you're seeing that more and more. I do think there's definitely still some hesitancy there with some dads, and I think I still struggle with it at times too. I know
Oh, I do. Yeah.
um, the day um, I'll do my best to get to get through this without getting choked up. But the morning that we almost lost him, uh, it was so everything happened so fast. The nurse happened to be in the room, and so she started CPR right away, and we hit the code button, and immediately room flooded with all these doctors and people that got it, continued CPR, got him intubated, got him back, and then we had been in the step down unit when this happened, so they quickly transferred us right through the hall up to the double doors back to the ICU, cardiac ICU, so he could get the more advanced care. And we got set up in this other room, and we had been there for a few months. So whatever room we were in, we had belongings in. We had stuffed animals, and we had clothes and different things because we were there for the long haul. And once we knew he was stable in the ICU, I it was overwhelming. I had all these pent up kind of emotions, but I was like, you gotta stay strong, gotta stay strong. And I told my wife, I said, I'm gonna go start getting our stuff and bring it this way. I walked down the hall, and one of the nurses that we had quite a few times in the ICU, um, they knew from the when the code got called, they knew what room we were in, and she heard the room number, and she got upset, and because she knew who it was, and I was walking down the hall, and she kind of stepped out of the room of the kid that she was taking care of, and I saw her, and she said, "You okay?" I said, "Yeah, I'm okay." And she was like, without even asking, she didn't ask consent or anything, like, she just gave me a hug, and as soon as she hugged me, it was just like, floodgates opened, and it was like kinda like she gave me permission with that hug to be
Yeah.
like, "Hey, you can let it out, like, it's okay." And so, yeah, I just, like, broke down, and then, stood there, and then by that time, the respiratory therapist that we had worked with had come, and another like, just children's hospital is, I mean, those people there are amazing. And so they kind of came around me, and was like, it's going to be okay. You guys you're doing great. And so I kind of went and got our belongings and came back. But like I could recognize in that moment I was trying to like hold it together because I felt like, oh, I got to hold it together. And I don't know, having that nurse kind of give me that unspoken permission to
Yeah.
let it go. It was just a good reminder of like, no, these emotions are more than valid, and
Yeah.
you can't keep them in because they're going to come out, and it's better to get them out and release them at a proper a proper time rather than sometime when you're not ready for it. So I do think that I'm not alone in that struggle. I think a lot of dads do have that struggle, but the more dads can talk with each other and
Mhm.
share that struggle, I think it's people okay. I'm not alone. This is something I'm going through with a lot of other people.
Yeah. No amount of chopping wood is going to help with this emotion. Yeah.
No, yeah, you
Yeah.
can you can beat that hammer all day
Yeah.
long and build whatever you want to build. And yeah, I think something that's really helped me too is I got into cycling not long after we moved down here. While Forrest was in the hospital at Children's, a nurse asked. They came and asked about riding for him in the annual Courage Classic that Children's Hospital Colorado puts on every year. It's a bike ride. It takes place at Copper up in the mountains every July. It's just a big 2 day um, bike ride, and people you fundraise with it, and it's my favorite weekend of the year. It's amazing. But they rode for him while he was in the hospital. So when we moved here, I was like, I need something. I used to be big into hiking and backpacking, but my knees and a special needs kiddo at home was making that harder and harder to do. And so I thought, oh, cycling, I could ride right out of my garage and be doing that. And so I picked that up in 2020, and it's become a huge aspect of my mental health. Just getting out on the bike and riding, and my wife runs, and so we're really good at, one weekend day I go on a bike ride, and then the next day she goes on a run, or we both do it in the same day, but we share it, and we both recognize that those are essential for our mental health, and we kind of make sure that each of us has that opportunity to do those things, and kind of let some of that emotion, uh, like you said, that the virtual hammering the nail. I get,
Mhm, mhm.
pedal and pedal and pedal, and kind of get some of that physical, emotional toll out, as well. Yeah,
Well, yeah, and you just highlight how important parent to parent or just connecting in general is because there's this whole spectrum of things you can talk about from getting that hobby, from
yeah,
physical exercise to to the care in
yeah.
general.
Yeah, whenever you talk to somebody, it's good to I try to what you just mentioned, kind of at some point dig in and say, "Oh, what do you do for you?" These we all do so much throughout the day and the week and the months for our kiddos, and it's real easy to think. And I know, my wife has struggled with this a bit, about where she a feeling of guilt of, I can't go on a run, like,
Mhm.
wait, who am I, why do I get to go on a run when he needs this, and he
Yeah.
needs that. Excuse me. So I've always I tried to encourage her, like, hey, it's okay. This is your time. You can't take care of him as best as you can if you don't take care of yourself. And so I think once you start chatting with somebody, if you can kind of dig into that and be like, what do you do for you, even if it's uh, you know, everybody's different. My wife and I are super lucky that our relationship is super stable and healthy. And I know that in the special needs world, that isn't always the case. I know special needs kids can take a toll on relationships and marriages, and so um, I think we're really lucky that we do have each other to kind of do that. And I recognize that there might be some single parents out there who have a special needs kiddo, either single parent mom or single parent dad, and they might hear this and say, "Who is it? Like, what is he talking about? Free time? Like, I don't have any free time." But even if it's kiddos are in bed, they just fall asleep, and you get to swipe, on some Instagram pictures, or you play a video game on your phone, or whatever it may be, that even if it's 10 or 20 minutes, I think having something that can decompress even for a few minutes is super vital to managing day to day with a special needs kid.
Yeah, it's like, honey, I know you're feeling guilt, but tell you what, take a 10-minute run and come back and talk to me about it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Changes the whole
Go to changes.
different
Yeah,
person.
yeah. Both of us have said that so many times. You have all this weekly pent up stress, and I go on a bike ride, or she comes back from a run, and everything just gets a little clearer. You have a little bit better mindset about the rest of the day. You don't feel as burnout, and yeah, I do think that's really important. And I definitely, as a support parent with parent to parent, I try to bring that up into the conversation. Probably not the first phone call, like, "Hey, what do you do for fun?" But
Mhm.
at some point, kind of drilling down into that, and say, "Hey, like, let's let's make sure you're doing something for yourself."
Yeah, and then the invite to kickball will be later, but
Yes,
talk
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
talk about you.
yep, yeah.
So did you say you're trying to get back to Montana?
No, no, we did when he was first born.
Oh, okay.
We tried, and that was they transferred us once he got the trach. So after the cardiac arrest, they we had a care conference, and one of his doctors is actually his ENT doctor who did the surgery on Tuesday. He's been with him since the day he was born. He repaired his cleft lip and palate, and he anything involving the ear, nose, and throat, whatever. He's always the one that does that. And he's amazing.
Yeah.
Um, he in a care conference right after that asked the big question of um, has because in addition to the major cardiac arrest, he had had a few other little moments here and there that were kind of touch and go, and he asked, like, has any of these scary moments ever happened while he was intubated?
Mhm.
And we are like, don't think so. And he's like, I think he's a candidate for a trach. And so that was a big discussion about, they couldn't guarantee us that that would prevent these things from happening. We now know, uh, and the trach has helped. I mean, as soon as he got the trach, he's started to grow and thrive, and we would do it. I have met other parents through Facebook groups or whatever. They'll come on. Oh, the doctors, they want to do a trach, and we're scared. We just don't know. And it's really cool to see us and 100 other people who have kids with trachs who go on and say, "Do it, do it, do it." If the doctors are recommending it, not that doctors can't be wrong, but
Right.
when it comes to making that decision to put that hole in their throat, and it's a big decision to make. And usually, when doctors are making that decision, they're not making it lightly. And so, for us, we would do it 500 times again over. It 100% changed how hard it was for us to get out of the hospital. Hence, why we spent so long in Montana trying. They won't
Mhm,
release you from the hospital until they know you have some night nursing.
mhm,
Because having a trach in event immediately means, per doctor's orders, 24-hour alert and awake care. Because they're reliant on that airway. If the airway is blocked, then it needs to be alleviated. So that does add an aspect to it, but we now know the trach. One of his first heart surgeries, they performed something called the Lecomte maneuver, which moved his. I might be mistaking this, so people fact checking me or everything. He's wrong. Uh, Moving, I think his pulmonary artery got moved behind his aorta, and so now his left atrium and his aorta, every time his heart beats, it squeezes the left branch of his lung just a little bit. And so instead of being like this, it kind of like closes down. And
mhm.
so before the trach and the vent, which kind of supplies that constant pressure, he would have moments where it would just collapse and then he's down to one lung. And that's most likely what happened that morning, that he had cardiac arrest. So the trach and the vent has allowed him to, stable airway. He's, um, like I said, he'll be 9 next month. For the most part, really good health. He did adaptive skiing last year at Eldora. He's done ice skating. He's played, um, uh, recess with the other kids. Like, he runs around. It's, yeah, the trach and the vent. Again, we get some looks out in public, and it's a thing that people don't usually see in their day to day. But man, he's rocked it out, and it sounds really scary to say. I think if we had opted not to do he probably wouldn't be with us today. I think we would have had another moment where we weren't in the hospital with a nurse standing there ready to do CPR. And so, um, yeah, it's benefited. But in that realm, we were trying to get back to Montana, but it was, yeah, I think we just realized we weren't going to get back to Bozeman, which is where we lived. We met there, before he was born. And so in 2019, we just said, we parent CNA program in Colorado, children's being here. It just, yeah, everything kind of made sense. And we didn't really want to live like right around Denver. And so we kind of, Fort Collins, we had heard really good things about. And so we settled here, and we couldn't be happier. School district is great, and he's getting a great education. So,
Good, yeah, well, my son's at CSU. I get to go to the
oh
formal.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I do love it. So to be clear, you're staying then?
Yes. Oh
Okay,
yeah,
good. I
yeah,
didn't wanna
yeah.
be like, Nicole, we got a runner." I didn't wanna,
No,
like, let him
no.
know.
Yeah, we even, the one downside to being here, we don't have. My family is in Virginia, all of
Oh,
them. Her family was in California. Her dad and sister did move to Fort Collins a few years ago, so we do have them now in town, which is really, really helpful. But we moved, and it was bad timing. We moved in October of 2019, and we were both excited. We're like, "Oh, we're gonna,
yeah.
more people. We're gonna meet some other young
Mhm.
parents, and we're gonna have some play groups maybe." And then, I mean, she finished CNA, and I was freelancing at the time. I do photo video work, so I was freelancing, and then COVID hit, and it was like, well, there goes our chance of meeting new people. So now that we're starting to, finally kind of meet more people and get around. But we had gone to visit my family in Virginia in 2021, and I think both of us we drove there because we hadn't flown with him yet, and so we were driving back across the country, and we both were just lamenting how nice it was to have for him to have cousins and my
Yeah.
parents and other people to support just to help him out. And we kind of vaguely started looking at moving to Virginia, and not too long after that, I got the full time job that I still have, and it's a great job. And then I think when push came to shove, at the end of the day, every time we would look, like, well, we can move here. It was like, well, what hospital are we going to be close to? And it was nothing. They're great hospitals in Virginia and North Carolina, Duke, and so forth. But to us, Children's Colorado, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. You'd have to really dangle a pretty big carrot in front of us to ever get us away from Children's Colorado.
I'm wondering, you had said that you got some strange looks in public, uh, and I'm wondering what you would tell is one of those people about Forest. You know, the things you don't know, what you're not seeing here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, our big thing, if we see someone looking, I know, if I put myself in their shoes, and I know if I was walking around my day to day and I see a kid with a tube sticking out of his throat, I'd probably do a second glance, like, what did I just see what I think I see? And that's okay. It's the lingering
Mhm.
stare that's like, and our go-to is, like, "Do you have any questions?" Like,
Yeah.
I can see you're intrigued, like, what would you like to know? And, it's, we'll take him, my wife is amazing, during the summer when he's not in school, taking him to, trampoline park, wherever, different things. And kids, they're fascinated. They'll come up and they'll, "What's that for?"
Mhm.
And I mean, they don't have that filter, so the lingering glance pretty quickly will turn into, curiosity, like, "What
And
is that?" Well,
and you appreciate that honesty, right?
100%. Yeah, a kid asks us, "What's that for?" We're real quick to be polite and say, "Oh, it helps him breathe, it comes in here and this machine helps him breathe." And say, "Oh, do you have any other questions?" And sometimes they'll ask more and they want to know. And I know, it was a really sweet moment. We were at, indoor, like a fly high, or urban air. It closed down now, but back in the summer, and on a weekend. And this one little girl, we saw her kind of looking occasionally, and she finally asked. She was, curiosity got the best of her, and she said,
Yeah.
"What, what is that?" And we told her, and she said, "Okay." And she's like, "And he talk?" And we're like, "No, he doesn't talk a whole lot, but he has sign. He can use sign language, and he has a talker. So if you want to talk to him, you can." She was like, "What's his name?" And we had him sign his name. His
Mhm.
name is Forrest, and so this is the sign for tree,
Yeah.
and this is the sign for forest, and then this is F. And so his name sign is just Forest.
Oh, that's all.
Um, and so he signed her name, and she quickly was like, "Oh, what's that mean?" And so we told her, and she just in a few minute little interaction, and you could tell right away that the the curiosity turned into, um, acknowledgement of, like, "Okay, I get it." And then about 20 minutes later, we're all different playing, tons of kids there, and we were in this one little area, and this little kid came running in, and again, no, the kid. I don't think he meant ill will, but it definitely hurts a little bit. He just came in and we saw him looking, and he just yelled pretty loud, "Hey, everybody, look at this kid."
Mm.
And I could see my wife over on the edge, and she kind of had a look like, "Oh." And that little girl happened to be standing in there, and she goes, "Hey, don't make fun of him. His name's Forrest. He's
Mhm.
really cool." And it was like, oh
That's awesome.
man, just like,
Look at me, I'm
just,
getting teary I don't want I'm getting
yeah.
teary-eyed, I'm, like, in the room with you or something, I'm dealing
Yeah,
with
I mean, it was
yeah,
cool,
that's
like,
awesome.
that I mean, all it took was a few minutes of that little girl as a kid, they don't know yet to I mean, all the kids that he goes to school with, they're amazing with him.
Mhm.
There's a, uh, it's usually it's him. He's integrated into general ed about 75-80% of his day.
That's aw
So since he was in kindergarten, not only is he getting to be integrated, we also see the benefit of the other kids getting to interact with him on a daily basis, so that in their world outside of school, if they see a kid like him, it's not some mysterious, thing. It's like, oh yeah, that kid looks like Forrest, or
Yeah.
whatever. It's that's been super helpful. Adults, it's definitely a little bit trickier. I think a lingering look would definitely probably prompt. I've never had to do it. My wife has done it once or twice at out and about. She'll take him to Costco and Target or whatever, and she'll see, and she'll just very politely, "Do you have any questions?" And just
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
a lot of times the person will kind of look, "Oh, no, no, sorry," and then I think they realize like, "Oh yeah, maybe that wasn't the thing, most polite thing to be doing." But we try not to immediately judge. We see it as teaching moments.
Yeah.
The more that we can educate people, then the next time they come across a kid with a trach or event or whatever, then they'll know. They won't, the curiosity might not be as high, because they'll be like, oh yeah, I saw
Mhm.
that other kid the other time. So yeah.
Does Forrest have brothers or sisters?
Nope, only kid.
Yeah.
We Once he was born, and we knew, especially once we got the trach and the vent, we
Mhm.
were like, this is going to be a full time job. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
the thought came up here and there about having him have a sibling, but we just didn't know. And so charge is most likely just a random genetic mutation of the
Mhm.
CHD1 gene. I'm sorry, CHD7 gene. Um, there is a chance that my wife or I, one, is a
Mhm.
silent carrier. And so, if the doctors heavily, the genealogy team, or not geneticist team, highly recommended, if we wanted to have more kids, that we should both get tested, because if it was a random mutation, then the chance of the next kid having it would be the same as any kid having it, one in 100,000 or 50,000, whatever. It's really rare. If one of us is the silent carrier, it's a 50% chance that a kid would have it. So I think part of that came up too, is that if we even were like, maybe we have another one, and we went to get tested, and either one of us tested positive, there would be that level of guilt of
Mhm.
knowing that you maybe contributed to the situation. And so um I think we just eventually I decided, yeah, it's him. He's gonna get our full undivided attention.
What is what
Mm.
I something you got to think about, and you've likely discussed this a lot. What does the future hold?
Yeah, so we're hoping, we kind of work occasionally. He does go do off ventilator trials occasionally, where we'll
Right.
disconnect him, and he just gets the oxygen bled in. There is a chance they've talked a little bit. It's not something they want to do on its own, because it is, from my understanding, as of right now, most likely a pretty intensive surgery. But there is a chance it's my understanding, and I could be butchering this word, an aortopexy. So, like I said, his aorta and left atrium are kind of squeezing that left bronchus. So there is a chance that they could go in and kind of stitch his aorta to the chest cavity, like the outer chest cavity, kind of lift it up out of the
Yeah.
way, and that could theoretically um, help him get off of the ventilator. He does also have severe central sleep apnea. So at night, even if we were to get to a point where he could go about his waking hours off the ventilator,
Yeah.
most likely he would need the ventilator at night
Okay.
to help maintain the breath rate. It's a matter of whether it's 24/7 like it is now, or whether it's only waking hours.
Yeah.
Uh, Mobility wise, he's doing great. I mean, he's walking more and more on. I mean, he's been walking for a few years, but he can ride a bike. He rides a bike all around the. We right now the struggle is, and we're gonna pretty in the next year or two gonna have to figure out a solution, because right now the method is he rides his bike with training wheels, and one of us walks beside him with the oxygen and the
Mhm.
ventilator, and it's becoming where we have to lightly jog to keep up
Yeah.
with him, because he will. So this year at Courage Classic, they offered a new option called the Courage Cruise, which
Mhm.
was a just 2 mile little out and back there at the base of Copper Mountain, and he did it. He rode his bike, and uh, my mom and dad had come from Virginia. My wife's dad and sister were there, and my mom and dad, they're in their late 60s, and they were walking, and every once in a while he would look up and he would giggle and go, and then
Mhm.
he would like book it and just like take off real fast. And
Yeah.
they were like, We somebody else has got to carry these. We can't keep
Yeah.
up with it. He likes going fast, and so um, before Urban Air closed down, they had electric go karts indoor, so they
Wow.
didn't have the fumes and everything, which was awesome because there are other go-karts in town, but they're two-stroke engines. They have lots of fumes and the whatever. And they had two-seaters that I could drive and he could sit in the passenger. And he loves those because they go fast. Like he generally likes being in a go-kart or on a bike and going fast. And so we're already kind of game planning for the next year or two, like what we can maybe get him that would be self-contained, where it's a big trike that would maybe have a bucket on the back for his ventilator and stuff so that he could, we could still have to go along with him and jog nearby, but we wouldn't have to jog with the
Yeah.
ventilator and everything. So yeah, he's super active, super mobile. And so I think next steps, he had a heart catheter procedure back in the spring, and that kind of helps stave off another heart surgery that he will need at some point down the road in the next several years, probably, to upsize a his pulmonary valve is got a process, like a fake one, essentially, from a cow.
Mhm.
And so it'll need to be upsized as he gets bigger and his heart gets bigger. But yeah, the doctors, every time we go for a checkup, they're all really happy with where he is, all things considered. I mean, you look at him and on paper, oh man, people read his, like, whenever we have a new potential nurse, like we
Yeah.
and we've lost a day nurse in the past, and so we go to meet a new nurse, and I'm sure they get the paperwork on him and everything. And I think we can tell they have this idea in their head of what they're going to see, and then
Mhm.
they get there and they see this kid who we tell them about skiing and riding a bike, and just they meet him and they're like, "Oh, this is not what I expected at all." So he really, for everything he's got going on, he gets out there and gets after it. And so our hope is that by us. Um, Kind of encouraging those activities that'll keep him healthier and better prepare him for that next heart surgery and the things that come in the future. But with the developmental delay, I think there'll be, like I said, we're not sure what life will look like come 18, 19, 20 years old, but if I had to guess, there'll be an element of adult care that he'll need as well.
To help parent to parent out a little bit,
Yeah.
what do you tell someone? Maybe it's your parents in Virginia, maybe it's someone that's not in the realm of having children with disabilities or healthcare needs. What do you tell them about parent to parent that makes them understand its importance?
Um, I think, but when I actually was talking with my mom recently and kind of explaining parent to parent, and I was like, um, when we first got diagnosed, we were in the hospital. We were really overwhelmed. We didn't know we never heard of Charge syndrome, didn't know anybody with it, obviously. Um, but what we did know and have access to at Children's was um, every Wednesday there was a coffee meetup, and it was all for parents whose kids were in the hospital with heart issues, who were getting, and it was just a moment to come, get bagels and coffee, and relate to each other. And that was so impactful for us in those first few months of every Wednesday. We knew we could go and chat with some other parents that were there. And I think I told my mom knew about that. She remembered us going to those coffee meetings and how much we enjoy. I said, parent to parent is like that, but on a much grander scale. Like you basically have a 24/7 availability of a coffee chat. Like, you can, there's the message board where people can come and get input, and whatever you're facing, uh, if you go to that message board, somebody has probably faced something similar and can give you some great learned experience, and make your challenge less of a challenge than theirs might have been. And so I think, for me, parent to parent is a lot about that. Of everybody has these challenges, but if you can help make somebody else's challenge that you had a little bit easier, then they can make the next person's experience that much easier. And so it's learned experience, it just connects everybody all together, and so that nobody feels like they're doing it alone. And um, it's not as hard as it was for the people who have done it before. I don't know if that was
No,
explained
that's
it well enough,
great.
but I try to make it, people understand that it's, um, lived experience is by far the most valuable tool that you can have when you're approaching a difficult situation. And if you haven't lived it yet, somebody else might have, and they can help you with their advice rather than you having to live through it to learn. You don't necessarily have to live and learn. Somebody else has already lived and done the learning, so they can help you in that regard. Yeah, I think that's where parent to parent really shines.
Are there other charged parents in Colorado, or a lot of them?
Yeah, there's some. Yeah, we've in fact, while we were in the hospital, a lady, we joined the Charge Facebook group, and she saw that we were at Children's, and she kind of reached out and said, "Oh, I have a son that has Charge, and I'd love to meet you guys." And so we're friends on Facebook now, and we follow her son and his journey, and they followed Forrest. And I don't know, I think there's one or two others. Um, in Colorado that I've never met, but we know that they're around. Um, a lot of charge uh, kids around the country. Cincinnati Children's has a charge clinic, and so I think a lot of families we see on the charge Facebook group, they when they reach a point where maybe their local doctors are kind of stumped or whatever, Cincinnati becomes kind of the, oh, go to Cincinnati. They might be able to help you figure it out. We have yet to come across anything like that. Children's Colorado has been able to um, help us through all the things that he's got going on. But if something ever came up, Cincinnati would kind of be one of those things. So I think um, people kind of from all over. I randomly have a friend that I knew in Montana. He was in school there as well. He moved back to Pennsylvania, and he and I were chatting one day, and he's like, "What does Forrest have again?" It was through Instagram. I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
Charge syndrome." And he was like, my wife's friend's daughter has Charge syndrome."
Wow.
And so she and I connected on Instagram, and we're Instagram friends now. So I see stories about her daughter, and they shared stories. So social media really has, I think, is such a great tool for all its faults, and it has plenty.
Mhm.
It really has been a great tool for families like us to kind of have that outreach. With Forrest the other day having the meltdown after anesthesia, I quickly popped onto the charge group and said, "Hey, we had this experience today. Anybody else? What do you guys do?" Basically, the crux of the issue was that with the developmental delay, we couldn't. It was hard to get him to understand to not grab at his wounds.
Mm,
Like, hey, like I know it's annoying, I know it's itchy, but it's not safe. You can't do that. But to him, it's annoying, it's
yeah.
itchy. I'm gonna grab at it, and so we had to try to come up with. So I was asking for potential solutions, and I did see an inventive one. Somebody wrote back like, "Hey, we had this one time. We ended up putting band-aids, on her leg,
Oh.
just multiple other band-aids so that she could peel those off and not focus on the ones that were real." And I was like, "Oh, that's great." And I was like, that would probably help in the moment, but maybe later on, teaching them to just rip band-aids off, it might not be the best idea. But
Right. So,
you do,
yeah, the
yeah.
side effects of the raw power of parenting.
Ex
Yeah.
exactly, yeah, so
Yeah.
you gotta figure out, is a solution right now more important than a struggle down the road? But
Mhm.
things like that, you reach out and immediately you get like I said, that lived experience of people writing back, and I think that's where parent to parent can shine as well. Is you have a rough moment and you can reach out and say, hey, what do you guys do on the message board? Or if you've already made some good connections on an individual basis, you can reach out to them as well and ask what maybe they've done and their experiences. Yeah.
Well, and I do see the open arms of the parent to parent logo there, so there must be swag if you sign up.
Yeah, it's a really nice sweatshirt. It's really soft. Nikki had reached out to me. I didn't even know that they had a swag store, and
Mhm.
she reached out to me because I had did some had signed up. I was doing the support parent, and then I'm actually, as of about a month ago, will be one of the new board members as
Yeah,
well.
awesome.
And so once that happened, Nikki was like, "Hey, you want to check out our swag?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I'm a huge hoodie fan. I don't have any hair, and so
I'm
it
familiar
gets
with this.
it
Yeah,
gets cold up there, and so
yeah.
a hoodie is nice at home. I flip that hood up, and so yeah, I saw the hoodie on there and went and snagged it.
Well, it looks great and well done. Has been a great conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. My wife and I both jump at any chance to kind of share Forrest's story, and even if one person hears it and
Mhm.
is like, oh, okay, like that, I'll know now if I see a kid out in public with the trach, I won't be, the mystique is gone, and it's just another kid. So we jump at any chance to tell his story and let people see. Kids like him are not they're not what you think they are. They're a lot more.
Yeah.
Especially, he's nonverbal, and so it's real easy, even for people who meet him, even us. She and I talk about it all the time. It's real easy for us to think, because he's nonverbal, that there's certain things, he's not thinking certain, but there's a lot going on in there that he doesn't say out loud. And not to keep it, but I'll end with this big funny little quip. He Last year, his birthday was coming up. We were about a month away, and we had even privately discussed, like, does he know what we mean with birthday? Does he
Mhm.
understand, what that means, that, it's his date of his birth or whatever? And does he know that it's like a big day for him? And he and I were sitting on the couch, and he had his talker with him, his AAC device, and we'll let him play with it, where he explores various pages and he finds new words and stuff. And he loves the zoo, absolutely loves the zoo. It's one of reading and animals are by far his two favorite things in the world.
Smart kid.
Um, and he loves the carousel at the zoo.
Mhm.
And this was like, his birthday is on the 22nd, and this was probably early November. And all of a sudden, and it wasn't, we knew right away it wasn't coincidence. And we both kind of looked at it. I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, from the talker, I hear, birthday, surprise, carousel. Birthday, surprise, carousel. And she and I looked at each
That
other
is
like,
awesome.
he's he's literally telling us, I want to be surprised on my birthday by going to the zoo. Like, this is
Yeah.
what I'm telling you. Like, but it's real easy to think that he's not thinking about his birthday. He's not thinking about any of those things. He's just, worried about his sound book or his iPad game. But there's so much going on up there. And so I kind of looked at him, I was like, do you want to go to the zoo for your birthday? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, okay. So yeah, he never ceases to amaze us.
That is amazing. He's probably had the same question about himself that you were having with your wife. Like, do you think that he's like, do you even think they understand? You know, that,
What, do they know what I'm saying? Like, I want to go to
yeah,
the
they
zoo.
know I love the zoo. Like,
Yeah,
what's
take me to
wrong
the
with these
zoo.
people?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Casey, thanks so much. This has been fantastic.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jared. I really appreciate it.